this computer. Okay, so we had the 3 sessions already. The last one we did the integrations, but it's more of the core integrations like here. So to Python, to R, Schooly, Chrome, so on. So today we'll run through integrations part 2, and this one will be more of integrations like Telegram, Microsoft Edge, Microsoft Excel, Word, and PDF. Okay, just feel free to stop me if you guys got any questions. Okay, so let's look at some of the code. Now let's look at Microsoft Edge. So if we look at the entry point for Edge, you'll see that at the start of the file, the TagUI.cmd, there's an entry point for Windows. There's all this definition of where Microsoft, where Chrome is installed. And these are some of the default folders for Chrome. So let's search for Edge. So when user use the Edge option, you will set the custom browser for TagUI to Edge. Okay, so let's look for Edge. What happens? Okay, so when that happens, it will do certain processing. Instead of some of the folder to be Google Chrome, you will check for MS Edge instead, because that's the executable for Microsoft Edge. And these are some of the folder. It can be sometimes a C drive program file, x86, can be at the program files, you know, and for some system, it is not installed OS wide for all the users. It's just for the specific user. Then you'll be under the local app data. Yeah. So I think this one is somewhere under C drive users, app data, username, then roaming, something like that. Yeah. This one, if you echo %local app data % on the command prompt, you'll be able to see the folder. Okay. So and then so when you see some of the other checks for Edge will be instead of looking for Chrome, you look for things like MS Edge, and then trying to launch the Chrome command. So the basic structure is already there to run the browser using Chrome. But when the user uses the Edge command, there's just very little code change to work for Microsoft Edge. So some of the things that need to be changed would be pointing to the right executable file, which is already done here. You know, you set the Chrome command to the Microsoft Edge. And the other change would be, instead of trying to kill Chrome before you launch a Chrome process, you go and queue Microsoft Edge before you launch a Microsoft Edge process. So this is important because let's say people run TagUI, there's a date MS Edge process running. You want to try to queue it first before you launch it, so that at any one time, TagUI is actually running one MS Edge process and not running 2. Then you won't be 100% sure you're actually sending instructions to the right instance or not. For example, maybe you do one automation to automate for user A's account, then somehow it hangs or what. Then you run an automation for user B account. Then if this is not done properly, you might end up writing user B data into user A. Yeah, so it's quite a nasty thing to happen. So it's good to queue the browser to start fresh. Yeah, but even starting fresh, all this cache and user setting will still be stored as part of the TagUI automated browser. It's just that, you know, probably you start fresh, it will more likely to require login again as a fresh instance, the username and password, rather than using an existing session, which may be the wrong session. Yeah. So these are some of the checks that are done prior to running the browser. Okay, so we search for MS Edge, and at the end, after you run TagUI, you do the same thing like killing either the Chrome browser or the Edge browser. So all this can be done by checking the flag whether the custom browser is Microsoft Edge. Yeah. So actually, I would think that's about it for Microsoft Edge integration. So the integration itself is quite easy to do. Yeah. Once we have the Google Chrome integration to integrate with Edge is super simple. You just need to change that few lines of code to do that. I would think all in all, less than 10 lines of code just to get TagUI able to work for Microsoft Edge. But of course, you have things like reading the option, then you complicate the number of lines. You maybe need the 50 lines to do all this. But the actual lines of code needed to run TagUI for Edge is actually quite minimal, less than 10 lines. Yeah. Okay, and I want to cover this part because anything that is on a Chromium browser can be automated with TagUI natively. Chromium browser means this one. Okay, so types of Chromium browser. A bit of history. Chromium browser is an open source web browser project by Google, the company Google. They created this open source Chromium browser project, and on top of that, they created Chrome. So what's the difference between Chromium and Chrome? So Chromium is an open source browser, but Chrome isn't. So Chrome has a lot of other libraries that add on, for example, playing certain MP4 video and so on that Chromium itself doesn't have, for example. So some of the other things would be the commercial side of things would be there's a lot more tracking and analytics code in Chrome to track the user's action, collecting data for users advertisement, matching and so on. So all this is in Chrome, but it's not in Chromium. Yeah. So which means many other suppliers like Opera and Brave browser, for example, Edge. So all these different suppliers, they also build their new browsers based on Chromium. So if let's say someday down the road you decide to, hey, Brave browser is a wonderful browser, a lot of people want to have it, then you might want to add the Brave option to run TagUI to automate Brave browser. Yeah, that's definitely something doable. So you'll be changing things like instead of searching for Microsoft MS Edge command, you'll be maybe the brave.exe command, for example. Yeah, this is more for FYI because if you're more for RPA, I don't think a Brave browser or Edge browser or Chrome browser or Chromium matters that much. Probably it's still the same effect, whichever browser you're using. I don't think there's a lot of the nuance would be that important. Yeah. But in case you want to automate all these browsers here, or even Chromium itself, you want to automate Chromium, actually you can install the Chromium browser. Yeah, the logo is like that. Yeah, so you can actually install Chromium browser and run on your computer. Yeah, even you want to do that, that's also doable. Yeah, it is an option to do. Okay. Now, any questions before I move on?
No.
Okay, then let's look at the Telegram integration. So Telegram integration, a good place to get some background would be here in the documentation, reference, steps, I think it's miscellaneous Telegram. Okay, so here will be some references for the Telegram integration. And to really know how this integration works, you cannot not know about how Telegram bots work. So you need to refer to this link to know how Telegram bot works and how the bot API works. Yeah. So basically, in order for Telegram integration to work, there must be a Telegram bot that's already being registered with Telegram. But even that isn't enough, because you need to write you have a server to have your source code of a logic, what you want to do with the bot. Telegram can help provision the bot, but it doesn't provide you, the Telegram, the company, it doesn't give you a server to code your business logic of what you want the bot to do. So in the end, you got to create your own server and host it. There are two ways. Either you host it on your own, or for testing and development purpose, you run your bot locally on your computer. Yeah, but that isn't a really an option if you are implementing a service, because if you host it locally on your computer, then nobody can use your Telegram notification service. They can't connect to your computer anyway. Yeah, unless you open your IP and your port to public access. Yeah, that's doable. But even then, when you switch off and on your computer, your IP address probably will change. It's not a static IP. Yeah, but in a usual server setup, your IP is usually a static IP, and your domain name is will map to that static IP, and then no matter how many times your server reboot, it will still be the same IP. And as long as your server is up, the user can send a message, and your Telegram bot server will be there to do what is needed, and forward the message and so on. Okay, so in order to get this running, there must be a Telegram bot being registered. In this case, it's a TagUI bot. Okay, users can also register their own bot, and then you see over here, I also link the source code. So under here, Telegram folder. So this is a source code for receive and send message. Okay. So why is there a source code for receive message? The reason is because Telegram, in order to prevent spam, they will require a user to first go and use his or her Telegram account, go and look up the bot ID. In this case, it's called TagUI bot. Then after looking for the bot ID, then the user must start a conversation to approve and authorize the bot to send a message to the user. So that's a prerequisite. So let's say you are in a company, you want to send notification to 10 people, right? Even before you send a notification to the 10 people, you need that 10 people in your team to go and ping this bot on their Telegram. And then they say, start the conversation, to allow the bot to message them. Yeah. Then after they do that, yes, Telegram, the Telegram on the API side will allow your bot server to send messages to these people that have already opened up a conversation with your bot. Okay, so that's a requirement. So the source code for receive message does exactly that. Yeah, you get the, the whatever message from the user, and then reply back with a message to say, hey, to send a message in TagUI, this is the syntax, and then you say, hey, your chat, your Telegram ID is what ID, for example. Yeah, so you do all this, and this is a simple server for receive message. In the more sophisticated Telegram bot server, you don't only do something like telling the user what's a chat ID. You want to do something sophisticated, like maybe you can message your Telegram bot to check your bank account balance, to place a pizza delivery. All this can be done, but the logic has to be inside this receive, server, this receive message, and business logic. So you have to design the logic. Yeah, but in this case, I designed a minimal logic, since the purpose for over here is just to tell the user what is this ID, Telegram ID. That's all. Yeah, and so this part here is nothing much. The real work is in a send message, where based on the user's message, then a API call will be made to the Telegram server that we are hosting. For now, I'm hosting at my endpoint, my VPS, but you can be hosted elsewhere in the future. Yeah. Then after the message sent there, this script will run and then send the message to the Telegram API for the bot API. And then the Telegram bot API will send a message to the user. Yeah. Okay. So this is a logic. And sometimes you see things like let me see. Yeah, so the details on how to configure this, it will be following the instructions here, lor. Yeah. And if you have done a Telegram bot before, that will be straightforward to you. But for somebody to do it for the first time, maybe they might have to do a couple of times to get it right. Yeah, but once you get it right, it's pretty straightforward. Okay. And with this source code, it means a user can register their own Telegram bot. And after registering their own Telegram bot, they host send and receive. Then they can configure TagUI to send message to their custom bot this way. And I don't think I cover here because most users will not be using their own. Yeah, but let's say you were to set it up. Let me show you how you can choose your own. Okay, so you see there is a Telegram endpoint variable. Yeah, and then I include here because I assume most users will be setting their own. Here, source code is on GitHub. Yeah, let me see whether I include that or not. Telegram endpoint. Don't think I include here. So basically, after a user set up and holds their own bot server, the next thing to do is instead of pointing to this endpoint, which is a default, in their TagUI script, they just simply do equals to some website that they're hosting it at. Let's say something like this. Then maybe TagUI bot, for example. Yeah. Then this way, each time they send a Telegram step, right, you will point to this particular endpoint and not the default one, which is my VPS. Yeah. So this can be done. And right now, there's so far over 5,000 messages sent already, and most of them are using the Python version. About this is on 60. Yeah, about 1/3 is using the human language version. Yeah, so they're using it to send messages. Yeah, right now it's only text messages supported. So that don't burst the bandwidth on the server. Yeah. Okay, so generally nothing much to be troubleshooted here. The hard part to do this is the setting up. Once it's already set up, it doesn't, because it's working on an API level with the Telegram API, it's not something like suddenly will break out of the blue. Yeah. And yeah, so far I haven't seen issues or user complaints about problem with this so far lah. Yeah, a common mistake is sometimes user may think that, hey, the ID for the Telegram step here, they will think the ID is the user ID. For example, cancel. No, it's not that ID. It is this ID here. Yeah, it's some numeric ID that is usually not known to the user. But when the user message the TagUI bot will reply back to say, hey, your Telegram ID is this one. You can use this number to message yourself and send a notification. Okay. Maybe I also can touch on a little bit on from TagUI side. Let's say we look at Telegram intent. So what exactly happens when a Telegram step is being run? So the first part is just grabbing the parameters. Yeah. Then this is a part where you want to make it some of the parameter to make sure it's safe to be sent to as a URL call, API call. Then it does an API call using the call API function built in a TagUI header. Then it make the call to the endpoint with your ID and the message. And that's all. And then you pass the result to see whether it's success or fail. Yeah, so actually when you see the code here, it's very straightforward. The main part of the integration is actually setting up the bot and hosting the bot, and then writing the bot server code. For example, this one, the receive message and send message. That's the bulk of the work. But the actual sending the message is very straightforward. Call API is just a custom written function to make an API call. Yeah, it's just a simple function to make API call. Nothing fanciful. Yeah. Okay. Any limitations? So far, I've not heard of any limitations. There probably is a max size for the string that you want to send, but I don't know what's the max value. There might be like there probably is lah, but I haven't really tested. Yeah, because I don't think there was a limit for this field for how much length of message you can send. Yeah. But anyway, if we have complaint from user, then we will know. But other than that, I don't think there's any limit. There's no rate limiting as well, so users can send like 100 messages a minute. My server will process it anyway. Yeah, so there's no rate limit. There's no message size limit. Enforced. Yeah, so it's quite a flexible integration. Okay. For the Python version, it's doing the same thing, just that using a different bot name. But the backend server code for send message and receive message is exactly the same. Yeah, just that the bot name is different. That's all. This one is called RPA PY bot. Yeah, instantly the Python package, if somebody want to use it to send Telegram messages, it's very lightweight because the sending of Telegram messages doesn't involve TagUI at all. It's purely written in Python. So a user can just install the package just for sending Telegram messages. Yeah, and you don't need to even download. It doesn't even need to download TagUI at the back end to do all these things. Yeah, it does it directly in pure Python. Yeah, okay. Any questions on the Telegram integration?
No, you also cannot edit it on your server.
Sorry, say again?
We also cannot edit the server code. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That means next time, right, if you guys decide to host on your own, right, or maybe you want to add some features like have attachments, then that will be when you need to modify the server code. This one, Adi from Indonesia, Jakarta, he tried it before. He actually modified the code to allow attachments. Yeah. So yeah, I think
I remember that one.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, but for him it's okay because he's hosting his own, and he's setting up for his own users. So it's not going to be a situation where some random people in the public will go and crash his server because they attach a 1 gigabyte video file and send through the Telegram. Yeah, and stuff like that. So for his use case, okay. Yeah. But otherwise, whatever the code you see here is the same as the code running on the server right now. Yeah. Now, but of course here, it doesn't have the like the token, all this will be needed when you register the bot. Yeah. Of course, here is in public, so I won't be putting the token ID here. Otherwise, anybody can go and change hijack and hack that bot to do whatever the person want, as long as the person knows token ID. Yeah. So this is a public file, so it's not included here. Same for here. Here token.
Got it.
Okay. Now I'll go to the other integrations. So let's talk about Excel integration. So when I wanted to integrate Excel, at first I thought it's pretty straightforward, but I realized the use cases of Excel is so much that you need like at least 200 or 500 test cases just to make it work, on the basic level. So it was a lot of work. And how it was done, it is to use a native OS level tools that's already built into Windows and Mac to do it. Okay, so on Mac it is done using Apple Script. On Windows, it is done using VB Script. Okay, so what I mean is this. Let's say I give an example. So a simple Excel example, ABC, then sheet 1, maybe I do a B3 equals to something like that. Okay, so I assign a value here, then I read the value back. Okay, data equals to this, echo data. So what happens? So let's try to run this. So you see Excel being launched in the background. So it's going to populate the value Jenny, and then it's going to read the value back from the cell. And then it's going to show the value. Okay. What I want to show is the generated file. Okay, so here. Yeah, and after running, you just close Excel. Okay, so you see, so the generated file will be something like this. Okay, so the first step that was done, it assigned Jenny to that cell B3. So here is a here assign. So here you try to assign the value to the cell B3. So there's a custom build function for Excel to do that for the integration. And the usual things where you echo out what TagUI is trying to do. Yeah. Okay. And custom function like Excel retrieve to set the value of what you want to assign. Okay, there's these two lines will be for the first line here. Then this line will be the one for the actual reading. So it says data I want to read from here. So you're actually trying to retrieve from here. and then you assign a value to the data variable, then all the output and so on. Okay, so what goes behind all these functions? Let's take a look. Okay, so let's say we look at Excel retrieve. Excel retrieve, right, is a function where it's designed such that basically the logic for Excel integration is very simple. There's always a left and the right of the equation, and then your assignment. So you always retrieve whatever's on your right side, whether it's from an Excel, whether it's from an array, whether it's just a variable, and then you assign it to the left side of the equation, which is, it can be an Excel, it can be an array, or a variable, for example. Okay, so let's say we look at Excel, assign. Okay, so it does certain checks using regex to see whether you are trying to assign it to a spreadsheet or you're trying to assign it to a variable. So if you are trying to assign it, if it's now means it doesn't match, that means it doesn't have a syntax to match that is a regex, that is a spreadsheet, then that means it's assigned to a variable. So you simply do an evaluate of the left variable and the value of the thing that you want to assign it to. Yeah, if you have a match that is actually a spreadsheet, then you call another function to write the value you have into the spreadsheet. So this one is called write Excel. So I can search write Excel. Okay, here. So you see, once you drill down, you realize it's a mess, a lot of code just to do that. Yeah, and that's because over here you need to cater for Mac and you need to cater for Windows. And Windows, remember just now I was saying, is writing using VB script. Essentially, you are writing using the OS level programming language to control Excel. So there's a lot of custom code over here just to do that, you know. And if it's a Mac, then there's a lot of custom code here to do that as well. So in the end, you have a lot of custom code that TagUI, convert from a very simple one line like this to maybe 50 lines, for example, of custom code on the Mac or Windows just to assign a value to the spreadsheet. Okay, so you can even see this in action. So let's say I assign this value, but I don't want to finish running it. I'll just pause it here. Okay. So I'll do the assignment of Jenny to the cell B3, but I don't want to stop execution. I want to pause it there so I can show you the intermediate instructions on the OS level, what happens. Okay. Okay, we are done. So this is done. So what's the actual instruction that's sent on the Mac OS level? It's actually here, this one, Excel steps. Okay, you see? So there's already some pre-processing to open Excel. Then after that, you see that, oh, so actually this line here, TagUI will convert that into this series of lines, which are essentially Apple script instructions for Mac to open up Excel, and you set it to visible or not, if the sheet is missing, you create a new sheet, and you select the right cell, and then you assign the right value. Yeah. So all these are done here. Then let's say reading a data, echo data. Yeah, so let's say we finish this. Let's see what's the final instruction, So after running this, you see that, hey, there's also a final instruction to tell the Excel to be closed. So you tell application, Microsoft Excel, blah, 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 and then you close it with saving. So all these are Apple script command. So in the back end, what happens is here is in this all this Excel function in TagUI, based on the input, all these Apple script files are generated, and then it's executed using Apple script command. So you see, it'll be here. Yeah, on the Mac, it's called OSA script. So this script will run the Excel generated Excel instructions, whereas on the Windows, it will be called Windows. Windows is up there, yeah. So if it's Windows, it will be here. It's called CS script. So CS script followed by the similar sequence of instruction, but in VB script to run the sequence of steps. Yeah, that's for Windows. So you have instructions like this for reading from Excel, writing to Excel, doing the same for Windows, doing the same for Mac. Then you end up having like, I think if I'm not mistaken, this integration was over 1,000 lines of code, to do. Yeah. So the hard part was to understand what's the right OS level code to use to control Excel. And that's very hard because you don't have proper documentation on that. Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, Googling for bits and pieces of info that users share, examples that users share. Yeah, so that's why it's very hard to do this integration. Yeah, but eventually it worked, but it's just that the effort needed was substantial. Yeah. Yeah. So right now, if you guys dig further, right, you'll understand more. But I would expect you guys will suddenly be very familiar with the integration, how it runs in the back end, because even for me, for me who wrote the integration, right, it's hard to do this integration. And then if you ask me now, do I remember at the back of my mind how exactly it worked? I don't know. I cannot tell you the exact logic used. I also need to refer to the source code and trace, then I can understand what was done in sequence, because there's so much being done to make it work. Although on the surface, it looks deceptively simple. Like it can't be simpler than this already, because this is just like a normal Excel formula in a usual Excel formula syntax. Nothing new, but be able to do this, it takes a lot of planning and design and implementation. Yeah, so it's not that straightforward. But what you guys need to know would be on a conceptual level how that's being done. So in case you need to debug, you can, like for example, you can trace Excel steps.scpd file or Excel steps.vbs file to troubleshoot further what's going on. Yeah, but to try to change the code for integration itself, it's not that straightforward. Yeah, probably when you guys hit a roadblock, you probably ping me, then I have a look, then I can point you guys more on where further to look at. Yeah, you definitely can trace the code and try to understand, but it's actually a lot of code to try to run through, about 1,000 lines of code. Yeah, there's a lot of logic behind it for OS specific code, VB script for Windows and Apple script for Mac. Yeah. So I mean, now that I written the integration, I don't even want to go back again. It's like a nightmare. It's so it's such a pain, yeah, to create this integration. Yeah, but anyway. Okay, so just for Excel. Now, okay, any questions like to hear on the Excel integration?
No.
No, don't have.
Okay. As long as you understand on the broad level how that integration works, that's sufficient lah. Yeah. Then okay, I'll go to touch on the Microsoft Word and PDF integration. These two are simpler, much simpler than Excel. How they work is it does the same similar stuff as Excel integration. That means you use VB script on Windows and Apple script on Mac, and you use this built-in programming languages to control Microsoft Word. Right. So when a user do something like something like that, it is a much simpler integration because it's only a one-way integration. It's not for actually trying to write things or update fields, but it's more for reading the content of a Word document to a variable in TagUI, reading the content of a PDF file to a variable in TagUI. So something like that. Yeah. So when you write something like this, what TagUI does is you convert it to the right OS level code for Mac, and you use Apple script to control Microsoft Word to open for that particular file. And after it opens, I think you can trace the code. You copy out the content of the Word document and then paste it to the clipboard. Then was it to a clipboard? Yeah, it's basically copy out the content so that it can be sent back to TagUI. Okay, so we can check the code. You can see what intent. To trace a code, you just need to trace a keyword like what intent. Then over here, word retrieve. So word retrieve. Yeah, so the logic is actually very straightforward, just like this. Okay. Okay, so read word. Yeah, so if you trace through the functions as you step through, you realize that, oh, this is a block of code to do the word integration for Windows. This is a block of code to do the integration for Mac. So what I try to do is use VB script. Let's say I look at the Mac one, use the Apple script to open the Word document. Then you wait for a few seconds to make sure the Word document is open. Then it sends a Control A, Control C, Command A, Command C, and Command Q. So after all this step, all the text in the Word document will be copied to a clipboard. Then you use a PV paste command that comes with Mac to save the clipboard data into a text file. And after that, using the text file, TagUI will grab the data and read the value. That's how the data of the text file is retrieved. So there's a little brown fox jumps over the events, for example. So I save it as ABC. Okay, so something like that. So we use OS level command. No, it doesn't even work correctly because maybe it was too slow or something. Yeah, maybe my computer is too slow. Let's try again. Oh, okay. abc.docx, then echo data. That looks strange. Why is showing this data? Oh, okay, I know why. Because it seems like my Word didn't open fast enough, so it wasn't even in the foreground. Yeah, the goal was to open it and then you copy that document value and then you paste it. Okay, let's try again. Yeah, so if you guys get the user complaint often, hey, sorry, I run the wrong file. Let it run through. You get user complaint and say, hey, the Microsoft Word integration every time it doesn't wait long enough to do it. That's where you need to change the time. Instead of 5 seconds here, as you see here, delay 5. Maybe you decided, oh, maybe we standardize, make it 10 seconds. To wait 10 seconds for the Word document to appear before you try to copy the contents, for example. Okay, so let's say that UI w.tag. So you open the Word, then you try to Control A to copy out the text, then try to quit and save it. Yeah, I think maybe some issue here. I'm not sure why. Yeah, it doesn't copy out properly here. Yeah, but anyway, Word.
In your clipboard now.
Is it on my clipboard? Yes, it's on my clipboard. Yeah.
Oh, that means it's not echoing.
Yeah, somehow is you cannot capture it on my clipboard, but somehow cannot save to the file. Maybe there's something process going on or what, I'm not so sure. Yeah, basically it's just supposed to, based on the logic here, after you capture, right, you use PB paste to output it. PB paste there to output it into the clipboard. Maybe there's still some lag or what, I'm not so sure. Yeah, the logic is like that. Then after that, TagUI will read the value of this PB steps out file and then return it to the user. Yeah, so that's the logic. And for Windows, you see it's similar logic, but here is a 5 seconds and then same Control A, Control C, and then you close it. So it's much simpler than Excel because you're just trying to open an app, a desktop app, and then you copy out the content, return it to the user. Yeah, over here, Schooling integration is not used for the clipboard, but some OS level commands like VBScript is used to grab the data from the clipboard. And over here as well, to grab the data from the clipboard, PB paste and things like using the HTML parent window clipboard data. Yeah, that's for Word integration. Let me see. If you look for PDF integration, it's exactly the same. You see, if you guys look for read PDF, the logic here is exactly the same. Except that what you are doing is trying to open the PDF file. Yeah. So once you understand Word integration, you'll find it very easy to understand the PDF integration. Okay, let me see. So let's try maybe open a PDF file. Do I have a PDF file here? Let me see if I have any dummy PDF file. Last time I always keep a Bitcoin PDF as a demo. I don't think I have it here. Let me see. Okay, I probably have one here lah, because I need it for to build the demo and the testing. Okay, here. Let's say I look at this one, sample.pdf. So p.tag. Okay. Sample.pdf. So now I'm doing a simple example where I get the data of the PDF file and then I, access it. Okay. So see the PDF file being open, then wait for 5 seconds, use a keyboard control, and then you see you have access to all this information. This is even better than users, use a step to open the file and use a keyboard step to Control A, Control C, and use a clipboard to copy back. I mean, you can do that, but if there's such an integration already, then it simplifies some of the work a user need to do. Yeah. Okay, I'm mindful that Kelly got to drop. Kelly, you have any questions? I will just wrap up with Ruth, and then you can catch up with the recording towards the end. But I think that's probably what I'll cover for today, and we can chat more about question and answer on Friday.
No, I don't have any question. Everything seems okay for my end. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then I'll see you again on Friday, Kelly. And for Ruth, I'll just stay on the line with her to see whether she has any other questions. Then before I stop recording. Yeah.
Okay. See y'all. Bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye bye. Okay. So Ruth, you have any questions on the Word and the PDF integration?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can. Yeah. It's definitely much simpler than Excel integration.
Okay.
Ken, in that case, I'll stop recording.
Okay.
Friday one, I don't think there's a need to record. It'll be probably more for Q&A, to ask any very specific questions and anything related to handover. Yeah. So I'll probably not record. Okay, I'll just stop recording now.